The brand was started by the actual Marquis de Caussade, Eliot Salter, who some called the King of Armagnac. Hello and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. Bottle number 109 is not actually a bottle, but instead a glass. It's a little brandy snifter filled with Marquis de Caussade VSOP Armagnac. Armagnac, if you're not familiar with it, is a style of brandy produced in the Armagnac region of Gascony, France. Like its better-known cousin Cognac, it's a protected name, but distilled spirits production in the Armagnac region predates Cognac by at least 150 years. One of the reasons Cognac is better known is because a few big houses dominate production, with names you might know, like Bottle 7, Martell, Bottle 19, Hennessy, Bottle 70, Remy Martin, and Bottle 75, Courvoisier. Lots of Cognac in Grandma's collection. Armagnac production, though, has always been distributed across a large number of small producers. For a time, Marquis de Caussade was one of the biggest, at least when it came to export. The brand was started by the actual Marquis de Caussade, Eliot Salter, who some called the King of Armagnac. While Armagnac had been shipped to the US in barrels, he was the first to bring Armagnac in bottles when he visited in 1934. The trip was so that he could deliver a collection of letters to the Sons of the Revolution. The letters were written to Caussade's great-great-grandfather by the French hero of the American Revolution, the Marquis de Lafayette. The brand would continue to play on that connection to Lafayette, with bottles bearing the slogan, "The Brandy of Lafayette," at least into the 1960s. By then, the actual Marquis was dead, murdered along with his wife in 1944 while attempting to flee France for Spain. It's unclear to what extent the Marquis was an actual Nazi collaborator, but certainly his business had done very well during the war. When the state declared they were going to confiscate collaborators' property, he sold the business and attempted to leave, only to be murdered by the smugglers that he had hired to get them across the border. The exciting story of the murders, the investigation, and the eventual apprehension of one of the murderers was detailed in a 1949 edition of a French newspaper called Qui Detective. It's in French, but if you like true crime stories, it's a good read in translation. Check out the episode description for a link. Meanwhile, the brand tried to get even bigger. The new owners bought a local growers union, and suddenly over 6,000 growers and 35% of the region's production were part of one entity. Alas, that entity was poorly managed and collapsed in 1980. It was rescued by Michel Cost's CCG group, who I had previously encountered in my research on Bottle 34, de Valcourt brandy. In the early 1980s, CCG refreshed the Marquis de Caussade brand. They updated the bottle away from a traditional flat-fronted bottle that had now become associated with cheap wine. They asked their market research group of 25 to 54-year-old, well-off, mostly male brandy drinkers to pick the new logo. According to a 1982 article in New York Magazine, the choices were a blue butterfly that soars to 3,000 feet, a white orchid that flowers every 20 years, or a love letter in Spanish sent by Victor Hugo to Sarah Bernhardt. They went for the butterfly, which still appears on Caussade Armagnac bottles today. The newly refreshed Marquis de Caussade became one of the highlighted brands in an early 1980s marketing push to promote Armagnac in the US market. It was positioned as the more exclusive and upscale choice over Cognac. At one point, Marquis de Caussade accounted for over 50% of all Armagnac sales in the US. It's still made today, but no longer shows up on the lists of top producers. My best guess is that my tiny snifter glass of Armagnac with its blue butterfly logo probably dates to the early 1980s. Mini bottles are often part of a marketing push because they give consumers an easy way to try before they buy. But shelf space for minis is limited, so as I've discovered when trying to find comparison bottles for tastings, only the really popular brands stick around for a long time. That 1980s date is backed up by the fact that the volume is in milliliters, but it's marked as 80 proof, so it must be before the requirement for listing the percent alcohol by volume went into effect in 1988. I have even less experience with Armagnac than I have with Cognac, so I'm looking forward to tasting this with someone with a lot more experience than me. Check out the next episode when I'll be joined by Dave Wondrich to talk about his love of Armagnac and Cognac and to taste this bottle, as well as bottle number 70, Remy Martin. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss that episode when it comes around. While you're down there subscribing, you could also leave a comment or a like. Don't forget to follow me on social media for more about this bottle and all the bottles. Look for @MyTinyBottles on Instagram and Facebook and @TammyLC on Blue Sky. Cheers!